And welcome to another exciting episode of the KLIQ Nation's Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, Tim D-O-double-G. Tonight I'm joined by at PCN_Dirt on Twitter.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here.
Also have here tonight at Agent_70 on Twitter.
What's up, everybody?
And last but not least, we have at Roddy Cat on Twitter. I want to encourage everyone to go to our website, thekliqnation.com, where you can find previous episodes of the Comic Book Chronicles and comic book reviews. Follow the Twitter account at thekliqnation. Like the Facebook fan page, facebook.com/thekliqnation. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/thekliqnation. Add us to your circles on Google+. Just search for The KLIQ Nation. Subscribe on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. Give us 5-star reviews on iTunes. Give us the thumbs up on Stitcher. Share us. Use the hashtag Comic Book Chronicles on your favorite social media websites. We are a part of the Comic Related Podcasting Network and the Cold Slither Podcast Network. Go to their respective websites, comicrelated.com and coldslitherpodcast.com. And if you ever have any feedback you want to have read on a future show, send that on over to thekliqnation@gmail.com. So with that out the way, we're going to dive into the comic book news of the week. First up, we'll have the cinematic news. Let's see, Kevin Conroy and Weird Al Yankovic join Batman vs. Robin animated movie.
Ooh.
Which there was a trailer released this week for, I believe, or end of last week.
Yeah, I think it was in the last week.
Looked pretty good. I still haven't watched the previous movie with the Son of Batman. Though I do have a $25 iTunes gift card that I need to put to use. I was going to use it on, originally I was going to use it on the Throne of Atlantis, so if I were to watch them in order, I guess I need to knock out Son of Batman.
Eh.
Uh-oh.
What happened?
He just said, eh.
Oh.
Wasn't impressed.
No, I actually hadn't seen it yet.
Oh.
But I don't know. Are they still doing the chronological thing? I mean, there's some sort of chronological sense to doing that, or
To Throne of Atlantis?
yeah, to going, Son of Batman to Throne of Atlantis.
I guess supposedly they're doing like 2 movies a year, one set in their like animated universe, and then one like off on its own.
Yeah.
Like last year was the Assault on Arkham, and I guess was it Son of Batman last year? So Son of Batman, I guess, is sort of set in that universe, except Batman having his own story.
I got you.
Now I haven't seen Arkham, Assault on Arkham either.
Yeah.
I think Dirk's seen it, right?
Assault on Arkham?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Batman movie that didn't really have Batman in it.
Oh, yeah.
Put his name
Now
in
I
there.
remember.
I mean, got to sell it somehow.
Let's see, Fox renews Gotham for a 2nd season.
Speaking of a Batman-less show.
That's
Congrats to the show I don't watch. Batman versus Superman fight coordinator teases brawl to end all brawls. Okay. Auditions for Marvel's Jessica Jones reveals the Purple Man will appear.
Which should be like a kind of a duh moment, I think.
Mhm.
But hey, just
Hey, I know nothing about the Purple Man except I guess he was in the previous arc of Daredevil that just ended. I think because I read the
2 arcs
last.
ago.
Yeah, I read some issue with it with him starring in it.
and apparently his
Mhm.
children, he had children or something, or
He
Yeah,
did.
yeah. So
He
that ought to be
did, and
good.
his progeny came around and, caused a
Of
lot of
course.
trouble.
Yeah, as they would do.
Hmm.
and
Let's see.
so Arrow Arrow and the Flash both came back this week, and Stephen Amell denied rumors that he would be revived via the Lazarus Pit. Which, if you watched the episode last night, you'll know if that was true or not. That's all I
Hmm.
will say.
Hmm.
Next up, we have, I guess, rest in peace to Mortal Kombat Legacies Kano and Arrow actor Darren
Shalavi, I guess.
Shalavi passed away. I need to look him up to see who he was.
He played Constant. I think he was one of the, according to Amel, he was like one of the first ones he fought. So his name was Constantine something or other.
Mm.
Constantine Drakon. Yeah, he was like he was one of the first guys that ever fought on Arrow.
Oh, okay. So for season 1, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we got. Just get some of that. Well, Paul Bettany supposedly has kept the Vision secret for 3 years. I remember. I think we actually reported on that not sometime last year.
Yeah, probably.
Bruno Heller promises a shocking Gotham finale, teases Red Hood's arrival. Marvel Corden,
Okay.
how you say this name?
I don't.
Chiwetel
Do it, Tim. Do it.
Oh, Chiwetel
Chiwetel
Ejiofor?
Ejiofor
Ejiofor?
for leading role in Doctor Strange.
But they
That
make it clear in the audience, I mean, in the article, it's not Doctor Strange.
obviously.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but
I've seen like 5 different guesses on who it could be. Some people were saying I like the one that it's Brother Voodoo since he's been revived and is starring in Uncanny Avengers.
Sure.
I mean, I guess it's possible.
Yeah. That would seem like that would be something for a sequel, though, to me.
Yeah. 3 actors join X-Men Apocalypse as Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Storm. And Melissa Benoist cast as Supergirl from Glee, I believe.
Oh,
correct.
great. Another Glee person gets work.
Yeah. More work for
Another
everyone.
person I've never heard of.
That's kind of how it was with everything. All the X-Men casting and then that.
Well, hey, Flash worked out, so sure.
Yeah. But this is on a big time network.
You
Yeah,
saying
CW.
Fox is not CW is not a big time network now?
I'd actually prefer if it was on CW. They know how to handle this stuff. It's the NBCs, the ABCs, and CBSs you have to worry about.
Yeah, that's valid.
All right, over into regular comic book news. Uh, DC regains market share from Marvel in December of 2014. off the strength of something, I'm sure.
Was it off the strength of any of the books in our draft?
Well, Forever Evil, it
That's
couldn't
funny.
have been. That was a while ago.
It says Batman, so move it along.
There were the April 2015 solicits came out. Tuesday, Marvel held their Secret Wars live kickoff, where they released some more information regarding the spring/summer event coming later this year. And I guess the big news was that the Marvel 616 universe and the Ultimate Universe would have an incursion, and both worlds would merge together, and that's what kicks off Secret Wars.
So, is this a crisis?
This is a crisis, and with a flashpoint.
You can call it that.
I think I will. Thank you.
Yeah.
Quicksilver's going to be the one to be the linchpin in all of this. He's going to save the world and kill it at the same time. Then they're going to go back in time, and then it's just going to start everything anew again. It's going to be great.
Reverse Quicksilver is going to go back and destroy Quicksilver's real parents. You know, because it's not Magneto, so we'll find out who it really is. But then Reverse Quicksilver will try to wipe him out. So then Quicksilver will go back, and then I don't know who's the Pandora of the Marvel universe, because she's got to get involved. Scarlet Witch.
But then Pandora's not even around anymore, or she's not a thing that's important.
Yeah, but she's got a book. She's in Trinity of Sin.
That's gonna end too.
5 people read.
Ah.
So here's the best part about that Battle World map that's out there right now. If you look really closely, you can see Scrooge McDuck's money bin.
No.
Is that in the Wastelands?
And yeah, it's in the Wastelands. It's right there, and Cinderella's castle is somewhere over there. So you can see that part of the Marvel universe come into play whenever it gets there. It's gonna be great, I'm telling you. Gizmo Duck against Black Panther. Just you wait. So I don't know. It's weird. This whole thing is weird. I don't know what else to say about it. Except for there's going to be a whole lot of marketing behind it. And I'm scared.
Yeah, there's definitely some trepidation on most fans' part because there's just no way to know what's going to happen. There's all these rumors, and of course we see little drips and drabs of news coming out, and some articles that say, or that kind of blare, that as clickbait headlines that say Marvel's publishing is going to scale back. And now that basically freaks out everyone that's a fan of some of the more exclusive, or maybe that's not the best word. Maybe the stories that are based solely around one character and are kind of that kind of occupy their own corner of the Marvel universe. We'll throw out Ms. Marvel as an example. We'll throw out even Hawkeye as an example. And even though Hawkeye's ending, I'm just using that as an example of titles that have their own place in the Marvel universe and may not, everyone's wondering how those titles are going to be affected by the ending of the Marvel universe proper.
I think that's just getting Hawkeye's just getting a reboot, so it's not ending, but
right. But then what happens to that book, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it'll be just like Mighty Avengers and any other, and it'll probably get tied into. Well, I don't know about Hawkeye, but it'll probably get tied into the event some kind of crazy way. But the scaling back part is not a bad deal because, I mean, granted, they can't say, well, we want 52 books to be out and then cancel every other one after 2 issues type of deal.
Right.
Not saying anybody does that. But, the scaling back is probably a good thing considering as many, say, Wolverine books there was, but even though that's not a factor anymore, or any other, just kind of bringing stuff in for a big event like this is probably good until it comes out and then see where things lie. And then
well, I mean, there also reaches a point where you've got Avengers and New Avengers and Secret
Right.
Avengers and Avengers World, and you had Avengers AI and Avengers Academy and Avengers Undercover and Avengers League. I don't know, whatever Avengers books. So
But the line is shrinking now, so as for now.
I prefer to think of it as imploding, not as much shrinking.
Mm. You say tomato, I say
Tomato.
watermelon.
Ah!
So I did have some fun going on the map and looking up all the places, and you notice that there are some regions on the map. You click on it, it says classified, but then it has a date on it. So I'm assuming that those dates will have. That's when they'll be announced in February and in March. So,
Yay.
of course, I'm very confused by Convergence, but I'm slightly interested in Secret Wars, plural.
I don't know. My patience is, like I have limited patience for this stuff right now. It's funny, kind of reading some of the various opinion pieces online about this, and the one of the better ones that I read, let the inner fanboy in the writer. I believe it was it was a In Your Face Jam, I think it's called, on Comic Book Resources, where the writer let his inner fanboy out and let the inner fanboy rant, and I felt like more of me was on the side of the inner fanboy just ranting and raving. But as an older comic book reader and as a reviewer now and a co-host of the Comic Book Chronicles, I have to have patience. And I think that's what we all need. We need to not sound the alarm, and we just need to have a little bit of patience and see how this goes. We all know that we're probably not going to be that happy.
Well, the thing is, these types of stories I actually enjoy if they're done well. The problem is I'm looking at Marvel, and I'm looking at Age of Ultron, and I'm looking at Axis, and I'm looking at Original Sin, and I'm looking at all of these events that they've had that I've either ended up not caring about or being somewhat hostile towards. And so now, they're pushing this, and I'm just not enthusiastic about the possible outcome.
Yeah, like at this point, we were kind of just picking fun, but I think I think we may have some sort of initial impression about it, but at the same time, we're still kind of, like you said, we're still trying to see where it goes and being optimistic about it. It could turn out all right. I don't know, or something good could come out of it. We just have to wait and see. That new Quack City, though, that's pretty good. That's on the map.
Yeah, I guess that'll be a Howard the Duck.
Really?
Yeah.
I really have. That's funny. I have not had a chance to look at this map. They called it New Quack City.
Yeah. Say something, Dirk.
Yeah, it's number 23 on the map.
Yeah.
So let's see here.
Where the cash money?
23 is right
where are
down.
they?
Let's see if I can zoom. Can I zoom? Or is this? Whoa, there we go. Here's 23 is right down here.
That's pretty
down
good.
towards the bottom. So, New Quack City.
That's funny.
New Quack City is actually right next to Marville.
Oh,
if you remember
God.
that fantastic series.
I don't.
I don't.
On the other side is the Far East.
That's Bill Jemis, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh,
That
Lord.
terrible series that nobody liked. Yeah. And then right above it is New Mars.
So is that gonna be like the Kree or Inhumans or something?
Or John Carter, because it's a Disney
Yeah, it might
thing,
be
maybe?
Yeah, John Carter.
Ah,
It might be
Oh,
John.
wow.
bringing in everything. So I guess we haven't really talked about. Yesterday and today, they released, I guess, slogans to go along with Secret Wars, like they call those banner
Mm-hmm.
headings.
Mm-hmm.
There would be a last days, which would be, I guess the heroes in the Marvel Universe will realize that their world is about to end. So instead of trying to stop it, they just all decide to, how would they spend their last days? Is basically.
So it's like that one issue of New Avengers.
Right.
Yeah, I must say they already did this.
Yeah.
At least the new Avengers. And there was one today called it's gonna have the Battle World logo on it, and supposedly that'll be the crux of the main Marvel universe going into along with the Secret World Wars mini series. And I'm assuming what they're gonna do is, there's gonna be all these Secret Wars related books going on, but then there's still gonna be a couple books that aren't tying into it specifically, like maybe like Unbeatable Squirrel Girl and Ant-Man and stuff like that might still be doing their own stories up until probably Secret Wars ends, and then they'll like have whatever final ending point, just like Convergence. Everything's ending in, was it March?
Or some sort of flash forward.
Yeah, well, just everything will end is certain month, and when they pick back up, if they pick back up, it'll be in the new Marvel universe, whatever's left over after Secret Wars.
Gotcha.
It's going to be like that season of Lost where they did the Flash sideways. That's what this is going to be. So it's just going to annoy everybody.
Yeah.
That's funny.
All right.
Great.
They're going to have product placement to go along with Secret Wars.
Well, listen, Bendis was on, what was it, Late Night with Seth Meyers.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's a full all-out media push.
I thought that was for like Powers more so than this. I didn't see it.
Well, I didn't watch it either, but I saw a post about it, and I know that he did speak about Secret Wars. So.
I got you. Okay.
Does anybody watch Seth Meyers?
Yeah.
I've
No?
caught it once.
I don't watch late night shows.
It's before Tim's bed, after Tim's bedtime. That's what it is.
I've never seen the point in them. I mean, people get up there to do their monologue and tell a couple jokes and then interview people.
If I'm up that late, I'm watching Twilight Zone on MeTV.
I'm saying it's for people with kids who won't go to sleep, so they're up.
That's right.
Actually, yeah.
All right. This is gonna be a Justice League TNT NBA All-Star comic.
I think it's out.
What?
Yeah, we got posters, promotional posters for it that we just kind of looked at. Everybody kind of shrugged, and they just went into the free pile.
DC said
Wow.
ESPN and Marvel aren't the only ones that can cross promote.
Oh,
Hey, it's Charles Barkley versus the Flash. Who wouldn't want that?
oh Lord. Are you serious?
I saw something in there about that.
Hey,
I think,
Barkley versus Godzilla was fantastic, so why
Yes.
not
Wow.
give it a follow-up?
yes. Yeah, it says official release date is January 21st. But you can read it through the link that we have. Well, that should be around.
Yes.
Actually, yeah, you can read the whole thing for free on this article that I got.
And what else we got? Milestone Media rises again. Hedlund, Cowan, and Dingle will revive company with eye towards characters of color. Just got some buzz yesterday, but as our friend of the podcast, William Bruce West, told me, as he said, they just made an announcement. They don't even have promo art or anything to go with it, so he's not getting too excited over it until he actually sees some product being made.
Yeah.
One of those wait and see type deals. And I guess something that's kind of newsworthy with it is the plan is to release stuff across a whole bunch of different companies. Like DC is still gonna be making stuff, but they're also gonna try to have books at other publishers to spread the wealth around. So
I don't know why, but I'm kind of leery about the Hudlin connection to this, but there's nothing to say until we see something.
yeah. Next up, oops. And it wasn't in we don't have it listed in our comic book news, but Disney comics are returning to IDW.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
So
Which seems weird to me, but yeah,
yeah, that Disney/Marvel wouldn't put it out.
yeah. But somehow it kind of makes sense because I did think that IBW has been doing like those artists. Well, they've been doing artist stuff. They've been putting out stuff for them anyway.
Well, the only thing, it looks like these are all just reprints. Like
Yeah.
it's not anything new. And IDW has been doing a lot of reprints with Popeye, with Haunted Horror, with Weird Love, reprinting stuff from the 40s and 50s. So it just kind of makes sense since they're already doing it, and since they do have whatever that agreement is with Marvel to do the artist editions type books, that they're just going to allow them to reprint that stuff, for the nominal royalty, as opposed to when Boom had it. Boom was doing some reprint books and some brand new material. And Marvel kind of snatched up that new material and reprinted it under the Marvel banner when they got the license, but now it looks like they're allowing IDW to do all the reprint stuff.
Mm. And now that I think about it, I feel like we've talked about this before, that IDW was doing this. Because I remember seeing some headlines about certain, like you were saying, reprints of things they were doing before now.
So they're gonna start with I forget what book.
Is it Uncle Scrooge?
Uncle Scrooge's first book they're gonna start with, and then would they say Mickey Mouse after that?
I think I remember seeing.
I don't have it in front of me, but they put out a graphic that has it looks like a Chutes and Ladders board game, and you basically follow it along, and it tells you which books are coming out which months.
Yeah.
You can do a search, you'll find it.
Yeah. Well, that goes along. Let's see, any variant covers that need to be brought up? Marvel launches Evolution of Howard the Duck variant to follow Ant-Man Shrinking variant. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Oh, Dirt read a couple books this week, I see.
What, this surprises you?
You're supposed to be like me and only get like 3 books in. Making me look bad.
I even typed up a full review,
Haha.
which you guys can read
Wow.
at popculturenetwork.com.
Ding! All right, so we ready to review some books?
Don't you have an ad copy you're supposed to read?
What was that?
Don't you have an ad copy you're supposed to read?
Thank you. I have it up on my iPad. You know how this show goes now.
Do I need to put that in there? Just add that.
Yeah, you can throw it up somewhere to remind me each week. I actually remembered before the show, but of course the show gets rolling. Let's see. This will be an ad for Busted Tees. This episode of the Comic Book Chronicles is sponsored by Busted Tees, your home for funny, awesome, cool T-shirts that will get your friends' attention. Eye-catching T-shirts like the John McCain winter sweater, ho ho ho, yippee-ki-yay, every generation of bat suits, Link's lawn care, cutting shrubs since 1986, Zangief's gym, and much more are on sale. To help keep our podcast free, order from Busted Tees by going to codesletterpodcast.com. That's codesletterpodcast.com. Then clicking on the Keep Our Podcast Free link. Click on the Busted Tees banner and then shop for awesome T-shirts. Busted Tees through codesletterpodcast.com.
Although, one thing I want to throw out real quick, Tim, is that it's the John McClane shirt, not John McCain shirt. A little bit different.
I'll have to make an edit in the Word document I'm reading from because that is what it says, McCain.
I mean, a John McCain Christmas sweater is certainly an interesting item that's guaranteed to raise some eyebrows, but I don't think that's what they're advertising.
I believe you're correct.
And at this point, Bruce Willis is almost old enough to play John McCain doing John McClane. So,
No! That's funny.
All right.
All right. So what we got, fellas?
What we want to tackle first? Was there a big, huge book this week?
Mm,
I only read three, so
Oh,
uh, and now Matt, I didn't get to Justice League. Oh, Batman and Robin came out this week too. Damn it!
Stop looking at my list.
I'm just going down and seeing what y'all read.
Hey, let's go ahead and get Guardians out the way. That was interesting.
Oh yeah, I did read that.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy 23.
So okay, so let me rant on this a little bit.
Okay.
So this is what issue 3 or 4 of the Planet of the Symbiote story arc, and it took the last issue for us to finally get to this planet, which was
Wait.
awesome. Which was awesome to see.
Was it 3 or 4? Because I think this is it.
I'm saying this was like this is
This is the last one.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is the last one, but the arc was like at least 3 issues, if not
Oh, yeah.
4.
Well, I mean, hey, you saw how they stretched out that the Nova thing that
That's
last
what
time. So
I don't know if Bendis. It doesn't seem like Bendis is doing that so much on like all the X-Men books, but Guardians, everything seems like he's stretching stuff out so long. Like even when he launched the series, nothing was like happening in it.
yeah.
There was
Well,
there was a whole rule about no one could step foot on Earth, but that never like went anywhere. The
right.
Earth was invaded by Thanos, so Guardians did a terrible job of guarding Earth. They can't even do their job right.
Right, and then that's when we started getting Avengers going out of space with
Yeah,
them.
the
But we only really got
Avengers,
2.
Avengers doing their job for them. But anyway, to get back on the task of this story arc, so we finally see the planet of the symbiotes. Venom gets a
Upgrade.
upgrade, not just costume upgrade, but supposedly powers, which I guess we'll see displayed later on. And the art was great by Valerio Schiti.
Mhm.
But yeah, it took 3 or 4 issues just to get to this point. Like the arc was called like Planet of Symbiotes, and we don't see it until like midway through this issue. We got issues of the symbiotes taking over Groot, it's taking over Rocket, it's taking over uh,
Yeah,
Drax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Entire issues of that stuff.
Yeah, the entire issues of that.
But we have a trade, so
Of playing hot potato with the symbiote. Or actually find out the name of the alien species.
yep, they get a backstory and they get slightly redeemed, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, that was very shocking. That was very shocking to have them be, well, no spoiler alert, or mild spoiler alert, that they're not as nefarious as we had initially assumed them to be.
Yeah.
I was
It's
very
just,
shocked by that.
Yeah. Which it was, you know what, well done, Bendis, because it was like, not to say that this couldn't have been plotted out, this way, but it was actually like, okay, sure, I could believe this is the case. Like, yeah, because they even go into talking about, how the symbiotes, if the farther away from Earth, the link is broken, and some symbiotes get tainted, as it were, or whatever, because they lost their connection to the planet and this and that other. It's, and I really hate to do this, as it almost kind of reminds me of DS9 a little bit, with the founders and Odo's people, if you know that series,
Yeah.
but not to the same effect. But it just kind of reminded me of that a little bit, and I apologize for any DS9 fans because that's really horrifying. But outside of that, yeah, it was just weird. It's like, okay, they just fleshed out a nice little backstory and gave them a little, they're benevolent, and I assume we're gonna see them again at some point, or there's gonna be some use for them again. But it was just kind of weird, but nicely, actually, surprisingly done, I guess.
Okay. So that's Guardians, and next issue kicks off their Black Vortex involvement.
Which is
along.
what I'm thinking. They were gonna. I'm thinking that's why these other ones kind of got the way they were, because it was like they were just kind of got. Well, we don't really have anything major for the Guardians to do, so let's just put this stuff in between to get to Black
Yeah,
Vortex.
and the other arc we said that wasted the. Even though we found out Nova's. Yeah, the black. So there was a original sin tie-in
Hmm.
that had nothing really to do with an original sin except that a secret was revealed.
Yeah.
Same thing with his Uncanny X-Men. No one saw a secret from the Watcher's eye, but a secret was revealed. So it kind of ties together.
Yeah. So they got him here. Now they're in Black Vortex, which I guess I'm gonna have to read Star-Lord now. So
Star-Lord's pretty good.
I hear. But
Came out
outside
this
of that,
week, which I haven't read.
okay. But yeah, that was pretty much it for Guardians. It is what it was.
All right. Next up,
Let's see. All right, Moon Knight number 11. I'll go ahead and put this out there. So after the events of the last couple of issues, Mark, the Khonshu's left Mark and gone with somebody else found a better deal. Mark was arrested, beaten up, and is somewhere being experimented on or what have you. He doesn't exactly know why, but as of this issue, he's trying to find out. He's talking with Khonshu the whole time. Well, all this other stuff's happening to him, and the end of the book, he gets
He's not
somewhere.
exactly where you think, right? He's not where he thinks he is.
Exactly. And he
I
finds
read
that
this
out the hard way.
Right. I read this book. It was just a very interesting read. I did not remember what had happened in the previous issue. I didn't bother to read the first page to refresh my memory. I just kind of jumped in, and it was just a very interesting read. The way it was laid out was, was very unique. Smallwood, I give Greg Smallwood, who's doing art on this, a lot of credit for kind of presenting this in a fairly unique style, using mini panels. There's there's how many panels here? 3 across, 15 panels on a page.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I thought that was pretty. And that was telling a lot of story in just these, on this one page. I was pleased to see that, given the decompressed storylines that we've all gotten used to, right?
Right.
To see all that stuff happening on one page. As you said, it's an interesting inner monologue, not inner monologue, but there's a quiet dialogue going on in this.
Yeah.
Exactly, in this book. And there's just a small bit of action, but as you said, we get to this point where Mark Spector has kind of recovered from a predicament that he found himself in, and then finds himself not where he thinks he is, and probably in a lot of peril. So, without spoiling too much, I've basically told the story of the book.
Yeah, it was an intriguing read, so if you're interested, pick it up.
Definitely. It is the middle part, or at least the following chapter to. It follows directly from the last issue, unlike some of the previous Moon Knight issues that were kind of one-offs. So I would definitely recommend circling back and reading the issue prior.
Yeah, like I remember just enough of the story to kind of keep me there. But there was that one moment, was like, wait a minute, do I have to read? Oh, wait, that happened. So.
Gotcha. All right, let's see what you guys read. All right, who read All New X-Men 35?
I did.
I actually did, yeah.
Dirt read it too.
Oh wow.
Well, it's Ultimate Universe, so.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that was probably the big draw, because this is, what's funny about this issue is that it resembled an event issue that would, for an Ultimate Universe event. because it has everyone in it,
Mm.
right?
Well, yeah.
Like
I mean,
if it
everything
was,
else is getting
like
canceled.
was
So.
Cataclysm or what was that's what this that's what this resembled. It's not so much an issue of all new X-Men. It's really all new X-Men guest appearing in a big Ultimate Universe event.
Which, as soon as this story arc's over, I'm dropping all new X-Men. But
You don't want to learn about the Utopians? Utopians are coming.
Goodness.
Yeah, I'm out of Black Vortex. But anyway,
That's like one of those events that's gonna be like 5 parts too long
Probably.
because it's crossing over into so many books, and then it has a Alpha and Omega issue. But continue.
There's
I don't know if there's anything else to add.
I was going to say there's one interesting scene in this book, and I'm not spoiling too much, because if you read the previous issue, you would know that not even OG, just young Hank Pym, is in the thrall of Ultimate Universe Doom, or Van Damme, for God's sake. And he reveals some information to Van Damme in a pretty unique way that's reminiscent. He basically draws out the chalk timeline that we've become familiar with.
Right.
Yeah, that was fun.
And seeing that in the hands of the ultimate character, the ultimate version of Doctor Doom, it got my mind racing and thoughts churning, thinking, oh, how is this going to play out in the near future, given what we know now about what's going to happen around Secret War?
I thought Doctor Doom was a good guy in the Ultimate Universe.
No.
He joined the FF.
Well, he was always working for his own ends. But if
As
that meant
Doom is
working
wont
with
to be, right?
Yeah, if it meant helping the good guys to get what he wanted, then that's what he would do. But he was never actually a good guy. But I just thought it was, as soon as I saw this green, because it's not a chalkboard, it's Doom's digital
Chalkboard.
whiteboard thing, and he's got
Right.
his little stylus that he's drawing on. But as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's another chalkboard. So of course the first thing you do is start magnifying it, trying to look through here. We got Secret Wars on the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
We've got an offshoot here with Dazzler as president is being listed on there.
Right.
You've got Avengers disappear at one point on there. You've got the funny thing is though is that there's a mark right around the same time as Dazzler as president, and in between M-Day and Avengers Disappear, where it says 2099. So
Right.
2099 is also one of the Battle World areas. So there's obviously something more going on with 2099 than just it being way off in the future, because that makes no sense in this timeline.
Right.
But you can see timelines going to Bishop's future. You can see one that says Logan is old. Scott Summers goes to space. Xavier, Last Will and Testament. So I mean, all the stuff that's going on is.
Do they have a 31st century one?
Do what?
Do they have a 31st century?
Well, nothing else has dates. It's all just on a timeline. So
Right.
Yeah, there's
No,
giving
I'm just thinking if they were putting in OG Guardians in there.
Oh, I don't see them being listed.
Yeah, I didn't see it here, but I don't know how far forward this is, because I think the furthest forward it goes is a mix of Logan is old and Bishop's future.
Mm.
Well, Hope and Cable.
That's true. Open
Okay.
cable.
So it's sticking around a point, sounds like.
Right. But yeah, like I said, that got my thoughts going, just to see that information being laid out for this particular character, and seeing and thinking about how it could play into the near future stories. It was a pretty fun read.
Yeah, well, and of course you got the fun banter of Iceman thinks Iceman is annoying, and everybody thinks Iceman's annoying, so they think it's actually funny that Iceman finds Iceman annoying. And
You have Angel and Rogue with
yeah, well, yeah,
Miles.
like Angel's like, so your Angel's dead, huh? It's a little
Mhm.
awkward. Mm.
But you're alive.
The one thing that I dislike about this particular arc, though, is the way Bendis is doing these issues, where the last issue ended with Jean Grey screaming, "Oh my gosh, is that really what I think I'm seeing?" And then you come back and it's like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, look at all these dots. Those are all mutants." Like, okay, we know how Cerebro works. We don't care. Like, that's the cliffhanger we got. And then at the end of this one, there's some explosion with Miles Morales jumping through the air, and she's screaming, "Oh my God, Miles!" And like,
Yeah.
that's the cliffhanger. Like, he's not gonna die, you know. So it's like, again, we've got Jean Grey screaming over something that's gonna be a nothing cliffhanger, you know.
Listen to Dirt blowing up Bendis' spot. There you go.
Well,
Hey,
you know.
we just did it with Guardians earlier.
I know,
That's
right?
true. It's true. It's true.
Before we get to more reviews, I forgot I was going to bring this up earlier. My brother had posted this on Facebook, Adam Black. He had said, for his comic book friends, with the news of the Marvel comic book universe ending, is there something that you hope will change with this reboot? If there were something that you could change for the better in the comics line, what would you do? He wanted me to ask it to the panel.
That's
I gave my realistic, instead of saying like what I want to happen, I gave my
Okay.
realistic thoughts of what would happen, and it basically was
Which
saying
is
probably less mutants. It'll go back to the all new X-Men being the starting in a book by themselves probably, and they'll be the only X-Men we see for a while. Then they'll start trickling in other mutants as guest stars and villains. Kind of how like the New 52 started, and we didn't get all the heroes right away.
Yeah, well, because my first thought when you said that question was that Schism never happened. That's what I would go back to and take
Bringing
that
the
out.
X-Men back, yeah.
yeah.
The schism has kind of ended though, right?
Well, but the whole splitting of the team and Scott going off and being a dork and starting his own school and, get rid of all that stuff. But if you could do that with just having the all new X-Men, the young X-Men being the only X-Men team, I'd be fine with that too.
Yeah. I don't know. The only thing I can think of is like I don't want to. Well, one, I don't want to. There's a couple of books I really don't want to lose, which I don't know if is going to be a factor or not. I'm also kind of curious about, say, well, I don't know. It's a weird thing to answer right now because there's still some stuff about Secret Wars we really don't know.
Right.
So the only thing I could even hope for is like, well, just don't lose a couple of good books. And like the thing that we've always talked about with, like, say, Mighty Avengers, like just being ultimately tied to a book and not standing on its own and kind of getting lost in the events, that kind of thing I don't want to happen. And I don't want anything else to happen to the current Captain America at this point because it hasn't been that long.
Right.
So if they did some dumb stuff like just put him in the Secret Wars and was like, hey, nope, this.
Well, that's the back door to get Steve back as Cap, Wolverine
Right.
alive, Deadpool back alive,
Right.
Professor X.
I don't think that one probably is not going to happen though.
I think it will. It'll go back to them being back at the five original, back at the school with Professor X, back to the old, the very original days, except told with the newer slant. It'll be like that. They're getting their cake. They're having their cake and eating it too. With like the Ultimate Universe, they want it to be like a good jumping on point for new readers. So this is basically what this is. The Ultimate Universe version 5 by now.
Right. But see, that's the thing. That's what I'm thinking. It seems like to me, and this is just a theory, that they've taken great pains to kind of get rid of certain people or make them less relevant. Because Professor X, the Watcher, which granted you can, it's kind of his relevancy anyway. Nick Fury, people that's kind of been there for a while and has some, tied to pretty much everything at some one point or another. I'm not going to say Uncle Ben because at this point, that is what it is because he's never really been a factor, even though I think he's around now or something from what I've seen lately.
Right. Sort of.
So sort of, yeah. I hadn't read too much into that, but either way, they're just kind of getting these certain people to kind of say, well, these people are not really relevant to today's climate anymore. Let's just kind of push those over to the side and
I don't know. I mean, they've made such a big deal about Falcon taking over as Captain America, about having the new female Thor, about doing some of these big character changes that it almost seems too quick for them to turn their backs on them.
Yeah, true. And that's kind of thing I'm kind of hoping. Pinning on, but you never really know.
They ship double if they ship by twice a month. By the time Secret Wars ends, they'll have like 20+ issues of each.
I almost wonder if whatever type of reset they do will be similar to the New 52, where certain books like, Batman and Green Lantern after Flashpoint, they're pretty much untouched. Whereas other books had radical changes, those really didn't change. And I wonder if Thor and Captain America and maybe even Iron Man will just kind of, like, everything that they went through still happened.
Right.
Maybe it just happened a little more compressed, but otherwise that still happened.
So everything with Cap just still happens, but
But him being thawed out and then losing the super soldier serum and becoming an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. all happened within the last 7 years.
Which books would be chosen to? I guess you just said. I guess all the new characters would be the ones to stick with the status quo.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think they've already said that Avengers was gonna change, but that wasn't. That changes every now and then anyway, so that's not a real big,
And it's probably way too early to speculate on what the all different lineup for that'll be.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just wanted to get that out before I forgot.
Sure.
And didn't they already announce a new Uncanny Avengers?
Yeah. And I think they pretty much set the team.
Week. That starts next week, I think.
And that would seem like an odd thing for them to launch and do like 2 issues of, and then it's over.
It'll probably be running. It'll probably still be running it as Secret Wars is going on up until the end.
Ugh.
Or change to X Avengers.
That's true.
All right. Let me get the Valiant #2 out, and I'll have all 3 of my books done. Because I didn't get a chance to read Ivar the Time Walker, which was another new relaunch from was it Valiant First? I think they're calling it. But their new motto. But Valiant 2 takes place where there's this big enemy that the Eternal Warrior has been fighting throughout the generations, and he's been trying to protect the Geomancer, and he's failed the last couple times, but now he's got backup in the Valiant, which is, as of now, just Ninjak, and they want to recruit what's his name, Etso Manowar, but there's a nice little opening sequence where we see Ninjak like undercover in the snow. It's supposedly like, and there's panel boxes that we get to read his internal monologue, and it's like he's been like in camouflage in the snow for like 12 hours or something like that, and it kind of shows the dedication of being this master ninja assassin type character. And the art's by Paulo Rivera, which goes without saying is pretty nice on it. And even so, Jeff Lemire and Matt Kent have the writing duties on it, but they also double up and do some art when they do this like little flashback sequence to the Geomancer. She's like telling the story of how of a story her dad told her when she was a kid. So Lemire does the art for those flashback stories, and Matt Kent did the watercolors on it. So it's kind of cool. So issue 3 ends with like, who's gonna be the next person recruited, and it's got like this big TV screen of like all the different like Valiant characters. So like, who's gonna be picked to join up with them next. And it's probably just gonna be X of Manowar because that's who they've teased already. But so I'm enjoying the Valiant. 2 more issues to go, and if you haven't, check out the Ivar Time Walker. Also, I'm sure it's another hilarious book in the vein of Archer and Armstrong from the same creative team. Fred Van Lente and I think Clayton Henry does the art. So that's my non-Big 2 book of the week.
Yeah.
I got one of them in.
That's funny.
Nice.
All right, let's see here. Dirt, I see you read Batman and Robin 38.
I did indeed.
What'd you think? The first issue of Damian Wayne busting loose.
Yeah, with crazy superpowers.
That is an understatement.
He has kind of an ill-defined power set at this point.
Well, yeah, because it's the first issue where he's busting loose.
And it's kind of a Superman-ish power set, I guess you could say, but I don't know. I thought it was an interesting way that they dealt with it, with him having him knowing that he has these powers and kind of going out of his way to use them, and Batman immediately smacking him down.
Right, trying to shut him down and pull him back. Yeah,
and basically saying you have to figure out what these are and what your limits are before you go out and try to use them. Which, on the one hand, yes, makes sense, and on the other hand, he's very much the overprotective dad again. After all this has happened, there's no way he wants to lose him again, and so I think that adds a nice touch, to the storyline, because it does make sense. It would make no sense if he's just like, okay, now you're invincible, and he just, would pick him up and chuck him into a group of bad guys. So, I also enjoyed.
I was just gonna say what was great was Alfred's role in that.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I like the little touches of he had the nightmare and he's floating off of his bed. And he ends up crashing through the roof above him into Alfred's room, which I guess Alfred lives up in the attic like Mr. Belvedere. I never really thought about it. But
wait a second.
His daughter took his place, remember?
He said Mr. Belvedere. This is what I get for having the chat window open. Hold on. He said Mr. Belvedere. Oh, where's Bob Uecker when you need him?
Yeah, no doubt, really. I mean, that just goes for life in general.
That's funny.
But anyway.
So, I mean, I like this. Like I said, my favorite scenes in this actually revolved around Alfred's role as an intermediary and as, Bruce's father figure. So, to kind of, tell him, give Batman some fatherly advice and say, hey, you know what? You may need to back off a little. So, I particularly like that, and I wasn't 100% sure where the story was going, and the reappearance of, I guess, spoiler alert, reject clones of Damian Wayne.
Right.
I did not read a lot of the stories that where these creations were made, so it was kind of out of nowhere for me, but it still made sense.
Well, if you remember back right after he died, Batman and Robin for several months, it was like Batman and Wonder Woman, Batman and Aquaman, Batman and Two-Face, Batman and so it was part of that run. Yeah, it was part of that series of books where all that happened.
Gotcha.
But one of the things that I didn't really think about until I got to the end of the story was the fact that for us as readers, and of course for Batman, Alfred, we've had all these months of touching stories where they missed him and they were mourning him, and then they went out, they were trying to rescue his body, and all this kind of month after month. For Damian, he was in the middle of a fight, and he blacks out, and he wakes up, and everyone's
He remembers getting stabbed, right?
Right. So, but for him, it's like no time has passed. It's like, oh, I got stabbed, but apparently it wasn't that big a deal because here I am. Oh, whoops, now I have superpowers. But for everyone else, it's been months and months and months and months of dealing with the tragedy. So he's going to have a different point of view from everyone else because for him, it's just another day, you know?
Right.
Everything went dark and then everything got light again and everything's okay.
Whoop-de-doo.
So, yeah. So he's got to deal with that. But it is, I always liked the progression of the character because when you first saw him, he was very unlikable. He was very judgmental. He was very impulsive. And then as the series went along, as you got to know the character more, he became more likable.
Mm-hmm.
And he became more grounded in this new family that he has. And so when they brought him back, this time, you could see it continuing on that story progression where he does, at the end of this issue, you can see that he is that likable character that he
Right.
had become. It's not that he woke up from this and now suddenly he's going crazy because he has powers and he's taking over the world. He still has that nicer side to him, and that comes out very clearly in the story. So.
Alrighty. Let's see. Well, I filled up every single line of my part of the sheet, so
Bragging.
let's see what else you guys read.
Well, did you read anything else, DC?
I read Justice League 38.
Okay.
Oh,
I read Justice. As you can tell, I spent a lot of time commuting this week. Let's see, Justice League 38. Although I didn't have time. What's funny is I did not have time to make notes, so I'm going to have to flip back and take a quick skim through the book to remember what I had to, what I might have had to say about the book. Dirt, did you read this?
Yes.
Okay, so I found this book to be, or at least the ending of the book to be kind of. I was nonplussed by it. I was actually impressed by the beginning of this, the continuation of the immediate follow-up to the last issue, which is spoiler alert: Batman being infected by the Amazovirus.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, the immediate effects of that were kind of cool. I thought it was a great splash page that Fabok drew, the manifestation of the yes, they are bat-like powers. That
well, and just to give a quick, because obviously not everybody's reading this, is that the Amazovirus was created by Lex Luthor with the idea that he would infect Superman with it, and Superman would lose his powers.
Oh, I was going to get to that part.
Oh, okay.
Because they didn't reveal that until this issue. Did they reveal that prior to this?
Well, they revealed in the past that he created the virus to remove superpowers, but the side effect was on people without powers, it gives them powers.
Right.
So
But what I was going to
it's
say is I wasn't sure if they had revealed that it was specifically engineered by Luthor to deprive Superman of his powers, but it had these unintended side effects.
right, but they did say that it's for lack of a better term, it flips everybody on their axis. Shall we say.
Ah! You mean they're inverted?
We have this convergence of storylines.
Oh! Goodness.
And his original sin was his hatred of Superman.
Oh, mercy.
All right, we are going beyond.
He's creating a schism in the superpowered
Oh, no. But anyway, so like
it's
I
the
said,
new age of Ultron. No, I can't do that one.
like I said, I was going to get to that part because I thought that was a revelation in this story. I wasn't sure if that had been previously revealed.
Yeah, that it was. I mean, you kind of
Or
understand
hinted
it's
at.
Luthor. Yeah,
Right.
I mean, if it's Luthor and he's making something to deprive somebody of superpowers, obviously you know it's going to be Superman. But because it's Luthor, he's always thinking in the same Batman terms. Whereas
Right.
Batman always wants to be able to take somebody down should they go crazy, whereas Luthor always wants to take somebody down should they figure out his real agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a similar progression there. But I mean, that if it's something that's attacking superpowers, it's obviously going towards Superman. I mean,
Right,
that's
or at
just
least originally, yeah, as you said, as the story states, its original intent was to do that. But
yeah.
at the, I started talking about this book, jumping straight to the end because I was kind of off put. I think I
Yeah,
said nonplussed. I was kind of confused by the ending because,
yeah. I'm not really sure where it's going.
right, I didn't quite understand why, and I think what threw me off were the reverse coloring of the word bubbles.
Mm-hmm.
The and because that reminds me, the effect reminds me of a certain core of lanterns,
Hmm.
right? And it's not. I don't know if it's supposed to be, if it's intentional. It just, that was the first thing that popped into my mind, and I was like, why does it look like that?
Well,
So
although like my first thought when you said that is to dismiss that, but then now that I think about it a little bit more, the third stage
hmm
that Luther discovered is that when a non-superhuman person is infected with this virus, they get the superpowers, but then eventually it burns out their body and they die.
right.
So there is death coming technically for all these people. So it very well could have a connection there to a character like Necron or the Black Lanterns. And it is Jeff Johns, so it's not too far out of the loop to say that he would tie this into a Green Lantern storyline somehow. I
It's
hadn't really thought about it, but now that you say that, that does kind of work.
it's just funny that the one Q, and when you flip back to the issue, with the one Q is the word bubbles, and you're like, oh, wait a second, the word balloons, and you're like, wait a second,
Right.
where have I seen this before? So as I said, the story revealed a lot. The issue revealed a lot of what had been in the background of the story. What we had been dealing with in the previous issues of the arc was the hunt for Patient Zero, and dealing with the heroes that had taken ill. But now we've gotten some explanation, and now the story's really, I guess, really moving forward. But this was a kind of not a monkey wrench, but we're definitely thrown for a loop with the ending of this issue.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm just not really clear on where it's going. Usually, you can see how these things are progressing and how it's going to lead to some big battle or
Right.
whatever. And I just don't really see how this resolves itself. There's going to be something that's going to come out of left field and get involved here.
I foresee that as well. So, all right, let's see what else we have on the schedule.
Tee.
Sounds like sounds like Jeff Johns is doing his best. Brian Michael Bendis writing, where not sure what's happening in the issues and nothing's really happening.
And everything ties together, though. I did read Wonder Woman.
I skimmed that. Can you help me understand what is going on in Wonder Woman 38?
Okay, so basically, I have not been reading the series regularly, but because the Finches took over a couple issues ago, I jumped on to follow the storyline. And basically, Wonder Woman she's supposed to be the queen of the Amazons
But
because
also,
her mother,
right.
so therefore she would inherit the throne. She's also the god of war because she
Right.
defeated Ares and took on the mantle. Plus, she's part of Justice League, so she's being called away to always deal with what they're dealing with. And because of all these different things going on, she's being stretched very thin, and so she's becoming one of those jack of all trades, masters of none.
Right.
And it's coming back to bite her because she tried to create a democracy for the Amazons where every tribe has a voice in this new council, but instead it just forces these groups to butt heads and pick sides, and nobody's agreeing on anything, and all this infighting is causing basically them to become weaker and more vulnerable. And because she is the god of war, all of these attributes that Ares really embraced are coming back to work against her because she wants to be a uniter, but the fact that she is the god of war just means that battle and conflict follow her around. And so in the midst of everything, the Amazons have decided that they've had enough of dealing with her, and they are trying to recreate and give rebirth to Donna Troy and bring her in to basically usurp. Well, and that you found that out at the end of the last issue, so
Right,
it's not.
but who the hell is reading Wonder Woman?
People who like the art.
Listen, I'm a huge fan of the Donna Troy character. I tried reading the last issue. I tried reading this issue, and yes, it is a Wonder Woman title. Yes, the Finches are developing this multifaceted Wonder Woman and stretching her thin and beyond, I guess, her previous limits and seeing where she might break. And that is one aspect of the story, but I want to see what they're doing, what they're going to do with Donna Troy. I thought that which character is that? Hesha, I think her name is. There's a conversation in a coffee shop, right? All the good conversations happen in coffee shop. Remember Friends? Between Diana and I believe the character's name is Hesha. She was an exiled Amazon, and
Right.
Basically Hesha is telling Diana that change has to be gradual because whatever she's trying to institute on Paradise Island is going to take some time to get used to, and whatever conflicts that may arise are just going to have to be weathered because they did things a certain way for so long with Hippolyta being the queen that instituting this democracy is going to take a lot of getting used to. So it was kind of nice to see that that third party or at least the external counselor coming in and just giving her a good talking to. And just letting her know, hey, you know what, this isn't going to happen overnight. But then, of course, we get somebody sticking their nose in, trying to usurp or at least establish a new power structure in not power. Yeah, it's Themyscira. I'm using some of these names interchangeably, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think the big problem is just the fact that they're trying to cover so much to show how far she's being spread thin, but the way that they jump around, it is kind of jarring sometimes. You're jumping ahead a lot of times to different places and different locations without really understanding how much time has passed and where exactly sometimes they are. And she's on the island, and then suddenly she's not on the island, she's having a conversation, and then suddenly she's off with the Justice League. And it's like, well, did that all happen in the same day? Did that happen in the same week? Like how much time has passed, you don't know, because they are jumping around so much. I think if they were able to kind of solidify the timeline a little bit more so you understood better, because this council comes together and they complain and then they break up, in the last issue, and then they come back together in this issue,
right?
And you don't know, is this the day after? Is this the next week? Is this
I think
a month
all this
later?
stuff is. I was gonna say I think all this stuff is happening within the span of 24 to 36 hours, and that's the only way I can make sense of it all. But as I was asking you before, help me make sense of this turn.
So I in general, like overall, it has more positives than negatives for me. I enjoy it, but I still think there is some refining that could have gone. Maybe to use a movie term, it could have used a rewrite before it went to print.
Gotcha.
But overall, it's been enjoyable.
All right. Well, I may have to just reread the previous issue and just give it another shot. I have to see. Let's see. What do we have here?
Excuse me.
Roddy, you all right?
Yeah.
You ready to talk about Captain America and the Mighty Avengers #4?
Yes, Calgon, take me away.
Ah!
Let's see. Yes, this is. Well, I have notes on this, but I'm not going to read from that because they were dumb. So this is.
No! I liked your notes.
Yeah, I was specifically being dumb for that because it's kind of what we do. But we are past Axis. We have a couple of different fronts going on here. We have Sam having, I refer a little bit, Sam having a Captain America worthy pity party because of thinking about his part in Axis.
I like
So,
that.
yeah.
That was my favorite part of your notes.
Yeah, so he has to get talked down by Monica, or I guess tugged along. I guess I don't know what happened there, but he was pretty much talking himself out of it. She was just prompting him. But that was a good thing to see. Then on another front, we have Luke, still acting like he's inverted for some reason. We will find out, or that we're starting to find out why. We have Power Man and Tiger. I say Tiger. Man, where's Tiger? White Tiger trying to investigate the murder of Gideon Mace, who killed her parents.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently using, I'm not versed with this version of Power Man's powers, but I didn't know he could do that, which I guess it makes sense given, what I do know about it. So, on all those fronts, the only thing that really stuck up out of this issue is one word that just happened to mention only twice, but really gets pointed. And the part of the villain, well, and that word is beyond. I'll leave it at that. And that that one part where Jason Cantrell, the one-time villain or whatever he is supposed to be, looks like Mephisto in one panel.
Right.
But outside of that, it was a decent read. Like I said, they just seemed like they're just coming out of one event and kind of slowly moving into the next one.
Right. It's weird that. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to ask. This is post-Axis, right?
This is post-Axis, yes.
It is. It is. So, what's funny about this? I feel like we're getting far more Sam Wilson development as Captain America in this book than we're getting in his regular book.
Yes.
I know we're getting some of that in the Remender book. We are. But I feel like we're getting more of it here. Isn't that funny? Because he has more characters to bounce off of.
Yeah, and that was the thing I was thinking about when I read this. It was like, this seems like it should have been in, his
Cap
own book.
story. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the main Cap book. I'm a big fan of Monica Rambeau. I am happy to see her. I'm very happy to see her front and center in this book. But with regards to, I hate to say this, the weak parts of this book are the younger Avengers. I'm not so, I literally was flipping right past the Power Man and White Tiger pages. I really couldn't care less. It was very, just kind of a filler part of the issue to me. It's interesting to see, Luke Cage trying to play slick, but obviously he's not the slickest guy in the world,
Well,
as revealed in this book.
Well, that part I kind of like because it kind of goes back to his earlier days. Because back when he was doing Heroes for Hire and he was doing a lot more detective work and whatnot, right. It kind of goes back to that. But apparently his foe is a little too slick for that.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, but he also doesn't have the immediate partner to bounce things off of, like Danny Rand.
Right, and he's trying to push Jessica away.
Exactly. So. That part was okay. I definitely was much more into reading the I want to call her Captain Marvel because that's what I grew up knowing her as. But the Spectrum and Falcap part of the story was the most interesting part of this book for me.
Yeah, which I guess we should go back to the cover. Basically, plays off of Power Man and Tiger and White Tiger's thing, but that's the lesser play here. In this whole story, so that's just kind of it's not even a red herring, but it's just because it does get brought up, but that's just secondary because like the book doesn't even start. Well, I guess the book does start off with pretty much with Cap, and his deal. So they're kind of pushing that in there.
Roddy, I was just looking at your notes, and I read this particular book on my way home today. So my recollection is fresh, but also I've been trying to remember everything else I've read, and I may not remember all the details about this particular book. But I wanted you to start the conversation on Loki, Agent of Asgard number 10, because I'm inclined. I understand one of the things that you're about to say.
This was a good book. Oh, this is the potential click of the week. Actually, I need to refer back to my notes, and I did.
Well, yeah, exactly. Flip it open and see.
Yeah. So yeah, so it started out. If you hadn't read this book, this is post X's also, and just like Mighty Avengers, this has Loki having a nice little pity party with him and trying to get back to be friends with Verity, and then who happens to pop up? Thor, and they have a nice little brother. It was actually kind of touching, nice little heart-to-heart talk until
the one-page, no pictures, all text.
Just comes out of the blue. This just goes and then starts off this downward spiral of Loki going down this road.
What was awesome about this, and this is why I was so happy to see that you thought so highly of this book, is that this got me up to speed on what's been happening in this book. I stopped reading this book. I stopped picking this up a long time ago. I sort of had an idea that what happened in this one-page summary had been going on. I didn't quite understand it because of the fits and starts that I had in reading it. But this one page, summarized things so well, got me up to speed on what was happening, and put me in a place where I understood what happened next.
Right.
I absolutely understood where Thor, Odin's son, was coming from.
Yeah, so they did a good job about pulling all that together. My questions started with, because I'm not familiar with how Kid Loki came into be, but I knew what happened to him to get from here from there to here, because that happened at the end of Young Avengers. And then he went straight into this book, or at least part of that. The part with the quote unquote reverse Loki. Which actually it is, if you look at it, it is actually the reverse Loki. But that was kind of dumb.
No, but that that story goes back to the very first appearance of Kid Loki.
Right.
Like, we're going back to like Siege. We're going back to like all that stuff.
Right. It's like Fear itself and all in there somewhat. See, that part I hadn't read, so I was a little lost on that part. But like I said, it did. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that goes back a long way. That's the part. That's the part I remembered best. And then I lost track of how we got to mid-teen, just past puberty Loki. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that part had to be filled in, and reading this one-page summary got me up to speed, and I was like, oh, so this is where we're going.
And it also ties in the whole old, future Loki. Well, it starts to tie in this whole future Loki, and actually in like the inversion Loki, and the inversion and the truth wave that happened in which that part I remember that happening in Latveria when he got trapped a couple of issues back before Axis started. So I remember most of that stuff, but it was still kind of hazy about. It's like, wait, that was a separate thing then.
Now tell me this. This is what my first and strongest reaction to this book is, and it's a positive, is that it made me want to go back and read the first. What is this, issue 10? Read the first 9 issues to see where we had come from.
Okay.
And that's a good thing. I read this issue jumping in basically after knowing, just bits and pieces of what was going on. It made me want to go back and read. That's a good thing. It made me look at it and say, hey, I want to see how we got to this point. So this is it's a powerful, that's a powerful story right there.
Yeah, so it gave me a similar thing, except for it made me want to go back to the beginning of Kid Loki.
Oh, even further.
Yeah, because like I said, I knew very little about that part. Like I knew it happened, and I knew there was a thing around it happening. And I do remember reading, like been reading on this book the whole time, so I remember them keep bringing it up, and I'm just like, okay, what's going on here? I must have missed something. But like I said, I remember what happened to get into this book with the Young Avengers stuff.
Right.
That just so happened to kind of get. I don't know if that was tagged in or that was that was supposed to happen, but I do remember what got from here to there.
Right.
So,
I had actually forgotten about the Young Avengers stuff because I stopped reading that towards the end of that run. So, but like I said, it seems like you had a similar reaction to it. It made you want to go back and fill in some of those gaps so you could understand how we got to this point. It's a great book. I definitely, I definitely have this as a contender for Click of the Week just because of that. You know, that
Yeah,
the fact that it made me want to, review what had happened.
right. And if you enjoyed any interactions between Thor and Loki, like before now, like even the well, I guess the inversion stuff too, even though that's just Lord Thor acting crazy, you will probably enjoy this because like you get them talking about that kind of stuff. You get to see what happens after that one page that we're alluding to that we're not gonna spoil. That starts a whole chain of a problem. But at the end of the book, you will be like, you'll. I would like to believe you will be probably interested in what's going to happen next.
And what happened before.
Right, because you kind of see Loki slightly different from, actually pretty different from what you've seen him in the past, even with this new iteration of him.
Right, and it's funny one of the flashback panel, a couple of the flashback panels, in the book show you kind of clue you into how far back you have to go, Roddy, with the costume that Thor's wearing.
Yeah.
So as I was saying earlier, you have to go back to like Siege. Siege. Even before that, like the very first, like the reappearance of Thor, like the Koipel and Straczynski Thor, I think. That's a long way back.
Yeah.
To really understand where we were coming from. So, I enjoyed this book. It was a great read, and I'm definitely on board with this being a Click of the Week candidate.
Which, remember, my other question was, is this book ending? Or has this on the block or anything? Because I was kind of concerned about that.
I don't know.
Because it seemed like they were trying to get to a point, or they're going to get to a point that seems, I don't know if it's going to be final or not. Yeah.
That might have been in the plans from the beginning.
Yeah. So that was kind of wondering about, and if that is the case, then it's getting there in pretty good style, or it's starting to get there in pretty good style.
Yes, I agree. All right, let's see what else you guys read. Seems like Roddy and I were reading a lot of the same things because we were reading a lot of Marvel. Black Widow number 14. I know you've been reading this more consistently than I.
Yes.
I understand that Natasha. It's weird that they call her Romanova. I'm like, I always thought it was Romanov. But
they flip back and forth every now and then. Yeah, I guess they're going with this one with Romanova.
Okay. So, it's was it you and Tim talking about the art, the Noto art?
Yes.
How he had adapted his style to a monthly book.
It'd be great.
Right, and I started to read this book with that in mind, and I agree. He's adapted to, a simple line art that. Lends itself to reproducible art that's he can do month in and month out and not have to worry about like that fine painting style that sometimes takes forever.
Yeah, he's found his point with that, because you can even tell from the cover to the inside, the inside stuff, while still detailed, is a little simpler than the work he puts in on the cover, but still looks great. As for the story, though, so this is after the events of her Lloyd being shot and this group that she's trying to find out called Chaos that's causing mass confusion for her life. She's finally starting to try to track them down after them tracking her down and messing with her for whatever odd reason. So she got this list last issue, I believe it was, and now she's going after the people on that list to try to get some dirt onto it. And this one, I don't know, I felt like while it was a good read, I felt like they kind of rushed it, or maybe that was the plan, because it went from her going one-to-one to just like, all right, let's just get everybody together and see what's going on here, and to which ends up going a whole different way for her.
What was interesting, right? What I was going to say, what was interesting about this issue is that she almost makes an error in underestimating her opponents, and that was kind of interesting. That's not something you see every day from the Black Widow, and it was interesting to see the tide turn against her so quickly. In the span of like 2 pages, all of a sudden she is no longer on the offensive, but on the defensive.
Right.
And well, go on.
Well, the only thing I was about to say was that's the one thing you've kind of noticed within the whole of this series is that along the way, I think she even said in the very beginning, or one or two, was like, yeah, sometimes she makes mistakes. Like she's not the perfect killer or the perfect spy. Like she's not saying that, I'm paraphrasing, but she has made mistakes from here to there, along the way, but she has gotten her way out of it
Right.
up until now. But she has actually kind of underestimated things every now and then, which is good because it makes her human, and it finds her getting ways to get out of it, or finding ways to deal with things. What do you want to say?
I was just going to say, and this is another Edmondson book, much like The Punisher, that reading the later issues has made me want to go back and get the first ones. I said this, I think in the last month's Black Widow, or maybe even 2 months ago, it made me want to start picking up the back issues because, reading the latest story arc, made me want to go back and catch up. So, I give Edmondson a lot of credit for writing a book that's engaging and makes me want to catch up on it.
I agree.
All right, let's see. We in rapid fire review time. It's getting late, fellas.
I want to hear about Millennium, Doug.
Okay. Talk about that.
Is that the Fox Millennium show?
Remix.
Yes, it is. That made me. That gave me pause. I was like, "Ooh, I don't remember this. I may not want to read this right away." Tell us about it.
All right. So, the show was originally developed to be a companion show to X-Files.
Right.
But it was originally developed not to be in the same universe. It wasn't a spin-off. It was more of the way that X-Files would look at government conspiracies and UFO cover-ups and Bigfoot and that type of stuff and take it seriously. This looked at apocalypse predictions and religious visions and things like that, and it took that seriously. So the example I always try to use is that if X-Files was Fringe, then Millennium was The Exorcist, and that kind of gives you an idea of how universes were different. And what they've done with this comic series is they've made it the same universe. And they did this because after Millennium went off the air, they did an episode of The X-Files where they had the character Frank Black, who's the star of Millennium, appeared in an X-Files episode. And it was just kind of like a wink and a nod to the Millennium series. It wasn't really rooted in the Millennium mythology. It didn't really have any of the other characters or any of the other themes that you got from Millennium. It was more or less they did a New Year's episode for the year 2000. They had Mulder and Scully finally got their first kiss on screen, and it was more about just being some kind of an event show. And people like myself who really enjoyed both series saw it more as how you can have Superman or Batman appear in like 20 different movies and TV shows, but it's not really the same character, like you just had Smallville a couple of years ago had Flash and Green Arrow in it, but it's not Flash and Arrow that are on TV now, It was that idea where they had the character appear on X-Files, but it wasn't really the same guy, it wasn't really the same theme, but it was just kind of, your wink back at that series. Well, this series continues on with that appearance in X-Files, which kind of kills the momentum a little bit, kind of kills the spirit of it, and it makes it an X-Files spinoff. Fox Mulder from X-Files is all over this issue, and in fact it becomes more of a Fox Mulder story where Frank Black from a Millennium appears kind of here and there to kind of give him hints and clues and point him in the right direction, but it doesn't stand as a Frank Black story, which is, disappointing. And my hope is that they're only doing that to try to push for readers who buy X-Files to go ahead and pick this book up, and then once it can, establish a reader base, then it can kind of go out on its own and do its own thing. But it's just kind of disappointing that that's what they did for this first issue. I love the character. I love the series. The fact that they're doing this makes me excited. I bought it. I'm going to buy it. Anything that comes out with the Millennium name on it, I'm going to pick it up. But just overall, it was kind of disappointing that that's the route that they chose to go with this, even though the TV show made it clear at several points that these were different characters, different universes, different themes, but similar, but not necessarily a spin-off.
Well, you can see from the cover, Dirt, and it was the cover that clued me into what it was. Because I'd never watched the show and was only vaguely on my radar. So when I opened up the cover, when I turned to the cover and I saw who was on the cover, I was immediately taken back to TV commercials, Fox commercials for the show, and thinking, oh, that's what this is. And it's obviously geared towards people who are fans of the X-Files, and at least getting them to pick up this book and open it up, and hopefully getting them to buy it.
Well, and I understand that that's a marketing thing,
Right.
You kind of have to do that, but X-Files was the sci-fi show with a little bit of comedy in it, whereas Millennium was the horror show that was dark and intense. And the original pilot episode for Millennium, when they showed it to the Fox executives, they even questioned whether or not they could show it on TV because it was so dark and disturbing. And a lot of the executives were really kind of upset by it, in the same way that I use that example of The Exorcist. The way The Exorcist really upset people, in the 70s when that came out, it was very dark and very intense and very. There's even a point where they're talking about conspiracies and whether or not governments can be involved in this type of stuff. And one of the characters makes a comment that, could you, if there really is a conspiracy with the government, could you even imagine how people would freak out, considering how many people believe in that garbage, like UFOs are abducting people and experimenting on them? So they even make a comment in the series that the stuff that's happening in X-Files obviously isn't happening in this world. None of the stuff that we see in the X-Files of the big grand conspiracy of the X-Files, of the government working with aliens to abduct humans and make these alien hybrids and all of that kind of stuff that was the backbone of that series, has absolutely nothing to do with the universe in which Millennium is. So the fact that they use that, I understand it's you got to do it for the marketing thing because there's an audience there and you want the audience to pick it up, but it is a different universe. It is a different feel. It's a different setup, and so it's just kind of disappointing that they decided to go that way. But like I said, I hope that they're able to establish a reader base and then they can move out on their own. Right now, IDW. They are committed to doing 5 issues. It's slated as an ongoing, but they're committed to doing the 5 issues. And then depending on how those 5 issues sell is whether or not they continue on with 6, 7, 8, 9.
Gotcha.
So I guess this opening arc of 5 issues really has to, grab those readers.
Right.
Yeah. So they're tying them in with that.
Gotcha. All right.
So you think they're not really? Doesn't seem like they're not really going for fans of the show per se, because they might hope to catch a few, but they're trying to catch more people that's into, say, Torchwood, Doctor Who type of with this book.
Well, I don't know as far as Doctor Who references because I don't follow Doctor Who.
Sure.
But the one thing when the show first hit the airwaves, it was how Law and Order always has the crime of the week. You always have that one murder or that one bank robbery or whatever they're trying to solve, on that week's episode. And Millennium originally was centered around serial killers. This guy was a behavioral profiler, and he worked for the FBI. So it started out as the serial killer of the week show. So he is tracking a serial killer, and it happens to be the serial killer that Mulder did his research on when he, was in the academy of the FBI. So that's how they tie the two books together, is based on that serial killer idea. And the X-Files, it was more sci-fi, but they did do those darker episodes and those darker moments, so they are kind of trying to tie in with that. So I can see how they, from a executive standpoint, from a guy in an office trying to put this together, says, okay, well, that's going to be where we draw the people in, is we're going to have this X-Files link, and people who read X-Files, we'll get them to read Millennium, and people who like that that serial killer detective type thing is how you pull them in. But the problem is that almost takes the series back to step one, as opposed to going back to where the series ended and then projecting 15 years out and seeing where would the characters be. It takes it back to that point of where the series originally sprouted from, and kind of building off of that theme, which I want to know where the characters are now in relation to where they left off in the series, not go back to those original season one themes. But again, it's an executive in an office trying to sell more comics as opposed to telling the best story they possibly can.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
But I did read another small press book that I really enjoyed.
What was that?
And that is a book called
Future Proof?
Yep. If I can find the cover here. There it is. Future Proof is basically two guys traveling through time, getting involved in every conspiracy, every cover-up, every hidden government agenda in order to manipulate future events. And you don't know what the future events are that they're manipulating. You don't really understand why these things have to happen. And these guys don't either. They are just soldiers of this time-traveling team. And they just get their assignments, and they go and they do them. The first issue was about the JFK assassination and how it had to happen. He had to die for whatever reason. So people who try to travel back in time to stop the assassination, they have to stop those people from stopping it, so it does happen. The second one was based on the Philadelphia experiment, the supposed time travel and teleportation of the battle cruiser in World War II. They get involved in that situation. And then in the third one, if you follow your conspiracies, the third one is the trading of Babe Ruth. Now, I'm not a big sports guy. I don't, Babe Ruth was traded at some point in his career. I didn't know
from
that.
the Boston Red Sox to the New York Yankees.
Yeah, and apparently he was traded for cash.
Pretty much.
Instead of for another player.
Correct.
And which was highly unusual at the time. And the excuse was the guy needed money for
To start
a Broadway play.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this apparently is a conspiracy among sports fans for a long time of why would they do this trade, and so they get involved in making this trade happen. These are the guys that they started the machinations of what led to Babe Ruth being traded, and this is the grand conspiracy. And for me, it was just so amusing. The first one is JFK, one of the biggest conspiracies of all time. Then you have the Philadelphia experiment, which is not as well known, but it is deeply woven into so many aspects of World War II and Einstein and all of the German scientists that were recruited by the CIA to leave Nazi Germany and work for the United States. So there's a lot of deep conspiracy and whatever built around that. And then Babe Ruth, like the trading of Babe Ruth. It just seems like a ludicrous thing, but if you're talking about conspiracies, I mean, conspiracies are ludicrous on the surface anyway, so why not? Why not have a conspiracy about Babe Ruth being traded? And I actually enjoyed the story so much that when I was done, I actually jumped on Wikipedia and started looking at Babe Ruth and looking at the trade and looked at all the details to it. Like, there is a conspiracy there. I mean, there is
What is
something...
this? Is this dirt talking about sports?
Yeah, I know. It's a
money.
baseball thing,
Chronicles?
right? Crazy.
Wow.
But it really has been, for a book that came out of nowhere. This is from a publisher called Bliss on Tap Publishing. This is a bi-monthly book, so it only comes out every other month. Um, this is just a really well-written, well-crafted story. The characters, they banter, a lot back and forth because these are two guys who have worked together for a long time. They've been recruited into this program. They're basically, set free to jump between these different time periods to do these different missions, and they're just kind of however they think of to get the job done is how it gets done. It's just, this is your mission, this has to get done, go do it. Almost like a quantum leap, type of thing.
Right.
It's just so enjoyable to see these characters, the way they interact, the way they try to figure out how they're going to make these things happen, and then to see these, really ludicrous conspiracies be drawn together. And what they've tried to craft here is that these guys are on one side going through time manipulating, but then there are other people going through time trying to manipulate against these things. So you see, for instance, in the JFK assassination, if you've ever seen the Zapruder film, there's a guy with an umbrella. He's dressed in a black raincoat with a black umbrella, and he's waving it in the air as JFK goes by right before he gets shot. And that they've turned him into a character. Like, he's one of the guys who reappears at different points in time. And it's just kind of fun stuff, the way they're building upon these conspiracies. I've just found this book to be a lot more enjoying than I ever expected. And, the fact that I am going on Wikipedia and looking at Babe Ruth tells you that there's something more going on to this book that I really enjoy.
That's cool.
I'm intrigued.
Although the cover makes me think of the movie Sandlot, but that's another story, with the signed Babe Ruth ball. But that's cool. It's not a book that I would even have seen on the shelves, so I'm glad that you bring it up.
Yeah, well, luckily, the owner of the store where I work is open to, if there's a small press book that comes out, we'll at least order a couple copies for the shelf. So if it's nobody company you've never heard of, it's their first book they've ever put out, we'll order, 2 of them just to throw them on the shelf just to have them, know. And so that's how a lot of this stuff kind of lands in front of me, is that we just open the box and, what is this book? I've never heard of this. Yeah. I might as well, sit down and give it a shot. So
interesting.
Future Proof is definitely a book that I liked.
Interesting. Cool. Let's see. Is there anything else that you read that I might have read? Futures End. You want to talk about Futures End real quick?
Not really.
Okay, good.
Batman Beyond from the future, or Bruce Wayne from the future of Batman Beyond has made his way to the time period of Futures End to follow up with Batman Beyond.
God.
So there you go.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Jeez.
This was just one of those issues where not really a whole lot of note happened. It was a lot of action that followed up the previous issue, but not a lot of exposition.
Wow, I think we already covered all of Roddy's books too. So let me start off rapid fire, because I read a lot of Marvel this week. Just a few words, and I'm very surprised. I guess we're out of deference to Tim not finishing Amazing Spider-Man number 13. This week's...
I actually finished it while y'all were talking.
Nice. So I can talk about it, but I don't know if you had a chance to read... obviously you did, since you've put down what you've read on your list. You have not had a chance to read all the tie-in Spider-Verse books.
No, but...
This week's worth of Spider-Verse books are pretty good. Read them all. It's actually worth the read. That's my rapid fire review on all. As a whole, the Spider-Verse books this week were very, very good. They moved at a very good pace. There was a lot of great one-liners in each of the books, and the action is at least moving forward now. We have some pushback from the Spiders against the Inheritors. Each aspect of the battle against the Inheritors is explored in the various tie-ins. I think you can still get away with reading Amazing Spider-Man just to get the main story. You will be missing out on very, very small parts, but I think still very interesting and well-written parts in some of the tie-in books. More so in the let's see, where's the list? What I found the better tie-in book was Was it Team Up or no? Actually, I think Scarlet Spiders. Believe it or not, Scarlet Spiders. That was probably the better of the three, and then you have Spider-Verse Team Up and Spider-Woman kind of competing as equal on equal footing. But I think the Scarlet Spider one was pretty good. Again, very quickly, Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier #4. I'm going to take us all the way back to the beginning of the show when we're talking, or maybe towards the beginning of the show when Tim, you had that question from Adam Black about what we would change in the wake of Secret War.
Yes.
I would change Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, and take him back from this crazy space-faring adventure and put him firmly back on terra firma, because I am not a fan of this book. This is on the chopping block of my personal pull list.
I tried. I gave the first. This is issue 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I gave the first 3 issues. Well, 2, and I skimmed through the 3rd issue.
Mm-hmm.
But I already knew I probably wasn't gonna like it anyway, just because it's Alex Cott, and he's a great writer. But his writing just isn't for me.
It's just not. I'm not happy with it right now. It's not what I think a Bucky Barnes Winter Soldier story should be, and that's probably why they're doing it, because they want to turn expectations on their ear. But like I said, it's on the chopping block for me. I don't know if I'm even going to make it to issue #5 in my physical pull list. Very quickly, I know people were fans of All New X Factor. It is ending with this week's issue #20. It was a pretty good wrap up to the story. It does not wrap up things neatly. There are multiple threads here that are left dangling, that Peter David leaves dangling, in anticipation of these stories probably being continued in a new book that Peter David's going to launch at some point in the near future. So don't think of this as an ending. It's just this particular volume of X Factor coming to a close.
It's not coming back.
Well, yeah, maybe not All New X Factor, but these stories are going to be picked up.
Oh, in his Spider-Man book, maybe.
Possibly. That's definitely you've already hit on a definite possibility. Fantastic Four. We jump to the original numbering. We are up to issue 642. We are rapidly coming to the end of this run of Fantastic Four. This issue involves a lot of explanation with regards to why things have been happening. That's been like the ongoing direction of the book for the last 2 issues, where the big bad has been revealed. But this issue shows a possible solution to everything. Basically, all this stuff is happening because someone has tapped into Franklin Richards' psyche, and the Heroes Reborn world has come out, and it's trying to come out and play. And that's really the gist of the story. And we have the reappearance of a '90s character in this issue. I don't want to completely spoil it, because I know that he's on the cover of the next issue if you look at the solicits, but I won't bring it up in the show. But it's kind of an all '90s everything jam that Leonard Kirk and James Robinson are putting together. So
Impossible Man?
No. But it's a '90s character. It's definitely a '90s character. He had his own series.
Oh.
He had his own series. Let's see, where else am I going? We hit that. Superior Iron Man #4. It was an interesting wrap up to the Daredevil arc. We don't leave the two don't leave on the best of terms. I don't want to spoil it any more than that, but not that much happens in this issue. I don't know if this is going to stay on my physical pull list for much longer. I do still enjoy reading Jerkface Tony Stark, but I guess the next issue will kind of tell where we're going, because the next issue, no real spoiler here, we're going to explore the origin of Teen Abomination, as silly as that sounds.
Actually, sounds
interesting.
Yeah.
It's Teen Abomination.
I say that because I read the Tom Taylor interview today on CBR where he was talking about it.
All right. All right. I haven't read that, but that doesn't really interest me. But I think I'll give that issue a shot to see if I'm going to stay with the title. Rocket Raccoon #7 plays with something that was on display in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and we have a nice little start to a story. It's a good jumping on point for readers. I'm not going to say too much because it would definitely be full of spoilers, but it's a good jumping on point for anyone that's looking to catch up with what Rocket and Groot are up to. Let's see. I think that's about it for rapid fire reviews on my part. I definitely wanted to cover the Spider-Verse books because we hadn't touched on them at all, and as a whole, I would take them as a whole. They're actually candidates for my click or parentheses clicks of the week, but I'm still thinking about it as we speak.
Okay.
Yeah, look, I covered all that stuff.
So clicks of the week.
I'm going to go with Roddy's suggestion.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep Loki, Agent of Asgard, #10.
Second. I second that.
I'm glad y'all liked that.
It was good. It was really good.
Yeah. Like I said, I can't say it enough. If a book is going to make me stop and go back and check out what happened to see how we got here, it's a good story.
As much as I was hoping my pick would be Millennium this week, considering how much of a fan of the show I was, I'm actually going to go with Future Proof. Just because if a book is a good enough story that it makes me want to Wikipedia baseball facts, then there's got to be something to
it. There you go.
Mine would be it's funny. As much as I complained about the Planet of Symbiotes, I probably would still pick Guardians of the Galaxy. Now that I think about it. Good art gets me, and Skitty's art was pretty good in it. Plus, we got a new Venom, sort of, kind of.
It was fun.
How do you pronounce that artist's name?
It might be Skitty.
It's Skitty.
Skitty.
Let's go with
Skitty.
Yeah,
let's go with like Allie.
Yeah. Come on, man. We're not building a wall against Mongolians. We're not building a wall against Mongolians. I gotta love it. I can drop an old South Park reference. That's funny. Well, before we wrap up the show, I wanted to show one thing I acquired last week at not quite my local comic shop, but I was happy to see the electronic Dancing Groot, and this thing is awesome. It brings a smile to my face every time I activate it. Dirt, have you gotten these in your shop?
No, we've only gotten the Funko Pop Vinyl.
Oh, you mean
Groot,
this one?
Baby Groot.
I got that too. I got that too. So here's the Funko Baby Groot. Yeah, this is actually pretty cool. Let me see if I could turn the damn thing so it's on the camera.
There you go.
So yeah, see, there you go. Right, there he goes. But this one, the electronic one, is freaking awesome. I'm going to turn it on. I have to warn you, though, I thought about bringing this and keeping this in my office because I definitely need something to make me smile as I'm working on like legal briefs and crap like that. But it is on the loud side. But surprisingly enough, it has a license to play "I Want You Back." The license, the legal, the legal language is on the label itself. So
that's great because this video doesn't. So
exactly. Without further ado. and it just goes, and it's actually a pretty long, clip.
I want this now. How much does that cost?
$1,000.
Cause no, I really was not paying any attention when I saw it advertised, but now I was actually
It's
seeing it and
actually
hearing
pretty
it.
cool.
Yeah.
And the best part is, if you watch, if I make noise, it moves, and if you play your own music, it'll dance to that as well.
Nice.
It's pretty cool. You see, it's not playing the music, but it's still moving because it hears me talking.
Right.
To me, the best selling point. I went to one of the branches of Midtown Comics to get this, and because I didn't realize it was coming out, and I didn't order it through my local comic shop. So when I walked in, and I saw it. I grabbed it. Oh, by the way, when I went to try to get Jason Aaron and John Cassidy's autographs, and they closed the line because it was around 2 blocks in Lower Manhattan. This is when I picked that up. I wasn't, last week I mentioned I was going to try to go to that signing. No luck, because they'd capped the line. I couldn't get out of work fast enough to get to it. So while I was there, I picked this up, and I couldn't be more happy with my purchase. It was it's Manhattan prices, so it was a little bit over $20. I think it was like 21, but I think you can get it online for cheaper. But
See spasming over there?
yeah, because it moves when I talk. It reacts to sound.
Oh,
The only thing
That's
about
what I've been trying to
this
say.
thing is
Like, it hears me talk, and if I play music, it'll do the same thing.
Now the grinding, the whirring noise doesn't happen, or maybe it's drowned out by the music, and that's why it's so loud.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that could get a little.
Right. It's definitely drowned out by the music.
Yeah, that would explain why it's so loud. So.
Exactly. So, but I'm definitely enjoying this this particular purchase. It makes me smile every time I see it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to share that with you guys. I'm glad that we could share that on this week's episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. Now it's turning off because that is loud. It is very loud. The music. I was shocked. I think I turned it on in the shop. I was like, "Turn it off! Turn it off! Turn it off!"
Nice.
There you go, fellas. Here we go. Oh, one other quick announcement on my part. I got to pull up the link. I got to pull up the page because I saw it flash on my feed. Special edition NYC. The Reed Pop show, the people who put on New York Comic Con, had announced the 2015 dates for this year. I want to say it's definitely in June. Let me pull up the actual.
June 6th and 7th, 2015.
Yes, thank you very much. It's been they have confirmed their dates. They have changed locations. They have changed locations. They are not going to be at Javits this year. That is unfortunate, but they are going to be in Pier 94 in New York City. That is on the west side of New York. For anyone that doesn't know, I'm disappointed that they're not going to be at Javits in the where they normally have Artist Alley. But I'm very glad that they're still going to be having Special Edition NYC. They have not announced any guests. But if anyone recalls, this is a great one of the opportunities they present for attending Special Edition NYC is the opportunity to purchase tickets for New York Comic Con. So for no other reason, I'm going to be going to Special Edition NYC to make sure I get my New York Comic Con tickets. But I had a good time last year. I hope it's going to be as good this year in a different venue. Look at that! Already started in January. We already started talking about our con schedule.
Oh man, yeah, already got part of it ready.
Oh yeah, I'm going to one next month.
What's next month?
Middle Georgia Comic Con.
Ah, anyone on the guest list there?
Yeah, without looking it up off the top of my head, Van Jensen, Robert Venditti, Nathan Edmondson, I think is going to be there.
Nice.
Those all guys that live in Georgia.
Yeah, I'm about to say.
I need to see if Mac Wilson is going to be there. I know he lives in Georgia too. I don't think I saw his name on the list. Those are the big ones, Edmondson and the Green Lantern fellas.
Oh, very cool, very cool. I'm glad that we're getting our con schedules together and rolling. I see that Edmondson, Tony Harris, Philip Hester.
Yeah. It'll be very small, but should be
Paul
fun.
Jenkins will be there.
Oh, you just look it up?
Yeah, I'm scrolling through it right now. Joe
Fiction
Linsner,
Squad.
Paul
Laura
Jenkins.
Martin,
Yeah.
yeah, John McCrae. Wow, that's actually pretty cool for like what sounds to me like a very local show, but they're gonna have a pretty good guest list.
We'll see how many of those actually show up.
Babs Tarr, Wilfredo Torres,
Yeah, Babs Tarr surprised me.
Daniel Way. I don't know if you have any issues of Wolverine Origins to have him sign. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right.
Cool beans.
Do the ending here. I want to thank
do it.
everyone for tuning into tonight's show. Be live on tape delay. Reminder to follow us on our individual Twitter accounts at TimDOGG98 and at TheClickNation. Roddy Cat is at Roddy Cat and at News Nerds Need.
Yep.
Dirt is at PCN_Dirt, and his website is popculturenetwork.com. And the man behind the sound effects is at Agent_70.
And I promise Serapina78 on Twitter that at some point we will talk about Gem and the Holograms, the comic book.
Cool. So with that, we bid you adieu. We are the Comic Book Chronicles, and we are signing off.
Big!
Secret War.